All right, what's up, Tampa? It is August 7th. For those of you just joining us, welcome to Tampa Talk. I'm John.
And I'm Dahlia.
All right, what are we talking about?
Well, this week, Tampa gets its first look at a proposed $2 billion city budget. Hillsborough County fires its emergency management director after a lengthy internal investigation. County commissioners move toward restricting AI data centers, and the school board reverses course on its new student dress code. Plus, we're looking back at a tragic day in Tampa fire rescue history and remembering 2 firefighters who lost their lives in the line of duty.
First, let's talk about this week in the work. So, what you been doing?
I feel like this week has been a week of meetings.
A lot of meetings.
A lot of meetings. A lot of one-on-one meetings, which is always fun to kind of learn about other people's work, share our own work. And I've noticed that the longer I've been in the space, the better I'm getting at listening opposed to talking. I guess it's the opposite of listening. And maybe that's not for me to judge because maybe the person that I'm meeting with should tell me if that's true or not.
Do they think you're talking? Yeah. Or listening well?
But at least I, being somebody who generally overshares and overtalks and is, let's just say, not shy at a table, I've found that I'm like, at least I'm trying harder I've been trying actively to ask better questions, listen, wait. When there's a lull in the conversation, just like pause because maybe somebody else will fill it in. I don't have to fill it in.
Yep.
And I'm getting more comfortable with that process, and I've been enjoying it more too. I find that while I've never talked because I like hearing the sound of my own voice, it's because I feel sometimes awkward if a pause goes too long, or I'm worried about how somebody's feeling, and so I try to fill it in to determine it, or I'm sharing by relating to you. And while that's all great, it's not necessarily how people receive the conversation. And so trying to do a better job of like just pausing, letting silence go a little longer, asking better questions that are like clear, I guess, sequiturs, not non sequiturs, to what they were speaking about. And through that, one, I'm finding that I'm able to better guide a conversation so that I leave and I feel like it's productive versus, and then also at the same time, better guide a conversation. I don't know, it just feels more personable too versus, yeah, it just feels more personal. So I've been enjoying that. That's been my week of meetings.
Yeah, well, I mean, and I don't know if you've sat in on meetings or had meetings where someone did the opposite of that, and talks the whole time. You might use the word like incessant even. And one of the things I've noticed is like you don't want to be someone that isn't asking any questions. Like you only have something to say. Because what it does project in many cases is it projects that you think what you think is so important, but also that you have a objective in the it's not relational. It's like I'm here to talk at you instead of interact with you, dialogue with you. Like dialogue is like something between. It is that we're both sharing.
Yeah, and that's why that's what I mean by it's more productive. Like I better am able to understand the other person and even find truer similarities or truer like reasons to connect versus sometimes I think sometimes collaboration's forced. It's like, okay, well, we're in the same city, so maybe we can do like the next step isn't clear versus if you do a better job listening, the next step's pretty clear because you've asked it.
Yeah. You've often talked about the work in general as being iterative, right? Well, one of the things that I would say you're doing in an iterative process is that you try a thing and then you reflect on that thing. So you act and then you come back and you reflect and you listen and you take in the feedback and then you apply the lessons learned, right? And this is how you iterate on something. And a dialogue works very similarly. It's like you're giving an input and then you're receiving, but in doing that, there is like more than the sum of its parts that are taking place. Where like if we can enter into dialogue with wonder, where we actually have like real openness to go, I actually expect that I have something to learn from you, regardless of who that person is, that they have perspective and vantage point or whatever. But super glad to hear that. The cliche line that I don't know, maybe dad used to say or something is like, there's a reason you have 2 ears and 1 mouth. You should be listening twice as much. Or
yeah. And I've actually reflected on this when I came back from living in France because I found I was so much more introverted, let's call it there. It's because I didn't have as much vocabulary. I just had to shut up because like you don't have as many tools in your toolbox to talk. And I like experienced for the first time maybe like the other side of the coin that where I've never understood why people are what is it, a wallflower? Is that the word?
Mhm.
Or like something like that kind of persona. I've been like, what? Just like get out, get out there. Not having the language was the first time I got to like experience maybe that, and walked away from that with I think a lot of good lessons. But then that was 8 years ago, and so
Yeah, I'm really grateful. Back in the day, I used to lead like discussions on campus or Bible study groups. And one of the things that we were trained in leading these just student discussions, like get together and you read something and you talk about it. But one of the things that we learned really early on in facilitation was some people are going to naturally talk a lot and have a lot to say, and some people will never say anything without like invitation in.
mhm,
And part of the role of a facilitator is to go, hey, like, can we let's leave some space to hear from some people that haven't spoken yet.
mhm,
And also to say, hey, if you haven't shared, maybe step up a little bit, like give it a
mhm,
shot, like kind of chip in. But those were like just general rules for facilitation, good conversation with like strangers or people that are
mhm.
just getting to know each other, but like they're practically relevant in no
Every
matter what we're
space, yeah.
discussing, like whatever we're getting into is going, hey, like recognize where there's like, hey, this person's being boxed out.
Mhm.
And then you invite them and they go, no, I'm good. I
Yeah,
love listening.
yeah,
Great.
great, yeah,
Great. That's fine.
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, for this week in Tampa history, we're gonna take it back to August 4th, 1981.
Yeah, it's a difficult story, but an important one in the history of Tampa Fire Rescue. That day, a disgruntled former firefighter named Anthony D'Arcangelo, D'Arcangelo, like the Archangel,
Yeah, I know it's kind of a cool last name.
Anthony
Yeah.
D'Arcangelo, until you hear like the entered the new firehouse across the street from station number 1 and opened fire on 4 people.
Fire Chief Franz G. Warner was shot in the heart and died at the scene.
Firefighter Isaac Royal was shot in the stomach and died 5 days later. Another firefighter, Richard Barrett, survived after being shot in the back. But the building superintendent, Charlie Pasco, escaped without being injured.
That's another cool last name. Pasco, living in the Tampa
Yep,
area.
yep.
D'Arcangelo later did plead insanity.
But on February 3rd, 1982, he was found guilty on 2 counts of first degree murder and 2 counts of attempted first degree murder. And he was sentenced to 50 years in prison.
And so this week marked the 45th anniversary of that attack. I'm curious, is that guy still in there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and I think we're going to mention this here at the city council spotlight, but they actually paused to reflect on this.
Oh,
Like they
okay.
had a moment of silence for this event this week at city
Oh,
council. Speaking of which, last week's city's council meeting actually began with several celebrations and remembrances. They presented a commendation for Doug Trent, a longtime Tampa resident, former city employee, and U.S. Navy veteran who recently celebrated his 99th birthday.
God bless. Yeah.
Yeah, man.
They also recognized winners from the Afro Academic, Cultural, Technological, and Scientific Olympics competition. Say that 10 times fast.
Yeah, right. And then
Yeah.
they also marked the anniversary of the 1981 fire station shooting that we just discussed. And then at the end of the meeting, council finally received the tree planting benefits report.
Yeah, we talked about this a few weeks ago, but it's supposed to help council better understand the economic, environmental, and social benefits of planting trees through the city's Tree Mendus program.
So there's no vote taken, but there was plenty of discussion. Council decided to continue the conversation into the following Thursday and give members more time to review the data. But the biggest item from last week was the presentation of Jane Mayer Castor's proposed budget for fiscal year 2027.
Yes, and to be clear, this is the first step in the city's budget process, so it's just the beginning of the conversation.
Yeah, the city's CFO, Dennis Rogero, presented the proposal after a pre recorded introduction from the mayor. So the top line budget's approximate. It's like just a hair over $2 billion. That is only about 2% increase over the current fiscal year.
And one reason this budget is getting so much attention is the ongoing statewide debate over a proposed constitutional amendment to reduce property taxes. The administration estimates that the proposal could reduce Tampa's annual revenue by approximately $60 million to $65 million by its second year. So city officials suggest that that may be the low end of the possible impact, but there are always questions about what replacement money could actually be used for.
Yeah, the proposed amendment includes language defining the city services could receive replacement funding, but several major categories are not included. So parks and rec, technology and innovation, and many of the administrative employees who manage city operations.
The mayor also used the presentation to compare Tampa's staffing levels with other Florida cities.
Tampa continues to have one of the lowest number of city employees relative to its population. Back in
Hmm.
2007, before the housing crash led to major cuts in city services, Tampa had 5,048 employees. The proposed fiscal year 2027 budget includes 5,054 employees.
Oh, wow. It's almost the exact same
Yeah,
number.
like the same number. Tampa's population has grown by roughly 80,000 people during that period of time. So, of the employees included in the new budget, 2,176 work in public safety. Overall, Tampa now employs approximately 12 city workers for every 1,000 residents.
So the city is serving significantly more people with the same number of employees it had nearly 20 years ago.
That was one of the administration's main points. The proposed budget is primarily focused on completing projects that are already underway rather than launching a large number of new initiatives. It also sets aside more unassigned money than the city has typically reserved in recent years.
So approximately 25% of general fund, or around $190 million. dollars. City policy calls for a reserve equal to at least 20% of current year expenditures, and Tampa has maintained reserves of at least 23% since 2018. So this proposal would put the reserve above both the formal target and the city's recent levels.
Yeah, so council will now hold 3 budget workshops before taking its first vote in September. A final hearing and adoption vote will follow, and the new fiscal year begins October 1st.
Yes, and council, from what I understand, does have some options here as well.
Yeah, they can accept the mayor's proposal as written with 4 votes, or council can write and approve its own budget with 5 votes. And members can also amend the mayor's proposal, but the mayor has line item veto authority. So any amendment the mayor rejects could also require 5 votes to override that veto.
And what happens if they don't agree before October 1st?
With the mayor's approval, council can pass a temporary resolution funding basic city operations, but the city would not be able to begin new spending until a final budget agreement is reached. So there's still a long process ahead, and we'll continue to follow this as the kind of move through these workshops.
The Hillsborough County has fired its emergency management director following a lengthy internal investigation into his leadership.
Yeah, Timothy Dudley Jr. was dismissed Tuesday after being placed on paid administrative leave back in March.
Wow.
Dudley had been led the county through the back-to-back hurricanes of 2024 and previously received significant praise for his work. But public records released this week describe a very different picture inside the department.
So the investigation actually began with a complaint over a denied request for time off.
Yeah, in June 2025, an employee named Eric Challenger filed a complaint after his leave request was denied during hurricane season. Human Resources ultimately concluded that the leave request itself had not been mishandled, but investigators said that the review uncovered a broader pattern of interference and
Hmm.
retaliation by Dudley.
Yeah, that's interesting. And it ultimately became a much longer investigation. I mean, 5 months later, we're talking about it.
Yeah, it actually lasted nearly 10 months. Investigators interviewed 15 witnesses, produced 2 human resource reports, along with an external review totaling more than 100 pages. Employees described a workforce where they feared retaliation, they felt micromanaged, and they believed Dudley responded aggressively when concerns were raised.
The employee turnovers were actually also pretty striking. So between January 2020 and April 2025, at least 21 employees resigned from an office that generally employs only about 20 people at any given time. So, that's almost 100% turnover in 5 years. Investigators said that the number and concentration of partners supported employee claimed that the department had become unstable, and ultimately Dudley denied creating a hostile work environment.
Yeah, he said the department was going through an unusually difficult period involving a pandemic, civil unrest, major organizational challenges, and multiple hurricanes. And he argued that employee stress came primarily from those pressures rather than intentional hostility on his part.
I mean, that's
It's a
interesting.
both and. It's a
Yeah,
both
yeah. I think
and.
it's a both and. It's like that's pretty fair, and I'm sure
The,
even your individual stress and as a leader, also
yeah,
is
for
compounded
sure,
by
for
that.
sure.
Yeah.
And the county did, however, conclude that the findings justified his termination.
Well, that's unfortunate as we enter, the busiest part of
Yeah.
hurricane season.
Yeah, hurricane officials say there should be no disruption in emergency management services. Fire Rescue Chief Jason Doherty has served as interim emergency management director since the spring, actually, and he was also recently named Florida's Fire Chief of the Year. The county has not yet announced how or when it plans to fill the emergency management position permanently.
Hmm. Well, Hillsborough County Commission was also busy this week, moving toward a temporary moratorium on artificial intelligence data centers.
Yeah, commissioners voted unanimously. I feel like we don't say that very often. Commissioners voted unanimously to begin drafting both a moratorium and a longer term regulatory framework for future facilities. The biggest concern is actually water usage. Large data centers can require enormous amounts of water to cool their servers, and commissioners are concerned, uh, um, considering rules that, and they're considering rules that could prevent new facilities from using the county's drinking water supply for cooling.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely need our water here in
Yeah.
Hillsborough County. Commissioner Donna Cameron Cepeda originally proposed an immediate 5-year moratorium.
The county attorney office advised that a recently passed state law known as Senate Bill 180 limits what local governments can do right now and allows effective parties to sue. So the commission took two separate unanimous votes. One directs staff to begin creating land use regulations for future data centers, and the second directs county attorneys to draft a moratorium that would take effect immediately after Senate Bill 180 expires on October 1st, 2027.
And obviously, this is all dependent on whether the courts approve this Senate Bill 180. I guess there's potential that the law is struck down before that.
Yeah, and in that case, the county could potentially move sooner. So the moratorium is not taking effect today, but commissioners are trying to have the ordinance ready as soon as the state law allows it.
We're so behind on this, like AI regulation, data centers. Like we're so behind on all that space and information regulations. I'm
Like across the board, like
across the
beyond the
board.
state,
Yeah,
like regulation will never keep up with
as
the
a
pace of
world, like as a
innovation.
humanity.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I like the rules around like these privacy issues that OpenAI is dealing with, and all these kinds of things, and even
Regulating
just
around blockchain and
yeah.
it's like all of these things is like with the regulation's going to go so much slower than any of this tech was.
Well, and we're too late on it. Like these tools are already. I mean, we've reported on a couple different where they chat instances where like crime I think was facilitated or
Mhm.
something about therapy too, and like these tools are already in the hands of the general public, right? And so we're using them right and we're using them wrong. And these regulations are coming after are responding to these things, similar to like financial markets. Like financial markets are another place where like we 2008 happens and then they create the rules versus like
Yeah.
the rules being proactive, because it's like we don't know what we don't know. We're developing the tool.
It's
Yeah.
exposed by our use of it. I mean, by the way, I do think that is why, I don't know if you ever watched the show Black Mirror.
But I'm familiar with
It's very,
concept.
very, very good. But the term, right, is like your phone when it's off is a screen. It's like a
Mhm.
black mirror or whatever. But it is a dark reflection of you. And so like the show is going like, hey, let's put technology in the hands of human beings. Let's innovate these technologies and see how these stories play out. And in many ways, that's what we're seeing in real life. It's like, okay, now we have growing capacity. They're going to be used for good things. They're tools, right?
Yeah.
So they can be used. A hammer can be used to build something and be used as a weapon.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
The Hillsborough County School Board has reversed the new student dress code restrictions and it approved just last month. It was also in the news.
Yeah, so the board voted 5-1 to return to last year's dress code. It means students will once again be allowed to wear leggings without the new restrictions.
And so leggings and kind of spandex was kind of the highlight of the story, but there was a couple things that were looped into this new dress code. Anyways, it was recently adopted, but they've changed their side on it and adopted that said leggings or spandex could only be worn as an undergarment or beneath clothing extending to at least the middle of the thigh.
Yeah, so this is the policy they had, and there was a ton of pushback on it. Board members who supported reversing the policy raised concerns about consistency and said the new rule could appear to unfairly target female students. But yeah, so they voted unanimously to terminate. Wait, what?
Yeah. So in the same meeting, they voted unanimously to terminate the charters of 4 schools, which include Collaboratory
Mm.
Prep Victory, Charter School Tampa Victory, Charter School Tampa 6 through 12, and Legacy Preparatory Academy. So that was also at the meeting, and I'm curious what that means when you terminate a charter of a charter school.
We should have done a little homework on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe next time. Or maybe you guys can comment and let us know what the impact of that will be. But that was just like tagged on the end there. I'm like, was that a
Yeah.
little extra footnote?
Well, events going on this year. We'll get into that. Those are things we do know about.
We have some events
So
this week
Tampa
even.
Brick fan event. A Lego experience is taking place at the Florida State Fairgrounds. It's $18 and children under 3 are free. It's taking place Saturday and Sunday from 10 to 4. 813 Day Bash is also coming up at the Tampa Bay Visitors Center. So August 13th from 11:30 to 1:30. This is a free event. So you can kind of go check it out. And there's going to be, sports mascots, vendors, things like that. The first 50 people will receive exclusive 813 Day t-shirt. You gonna get one of
Nice.
those?
No, but I need to get one. I like the 813 stuff.
And then Beer Fest we mentioned last year is still taking place, or last week
I was
is
like,
still
has it
taking
been that
place
long?
at Busch Gardens,
Long week,
Tampa
huh?
Bay, every weekend until September, through September. And then finally, we wanted to make sure to point you towards events that we have going on. And so you can always visit at WellFed Community on Instagram to see our recurring demonstrations and events that are taking place within the WellFed community ecosystem. The Drop does have their calendar of events as well.
Yes, it is about to be posted on our website, which is WellBuilt.city/the drop. And in the very near future, we will have the calendar listed up there as well.
Great. And then we also wanted to announce our first ever inaugural. Are we calling it a gala?
I don't like that word, but yes, it's
A
called the
fundraising
table. It's the
event.
table. We're
Yeah.
setting the table. We're inviting folks to come together. We want to tell the story of the entire ecosystem. It is a fundraising dinner. And if you go to givebutter.com /WBC the table, you will be able to see like how you can get a ticket, maybe how you could sponsor a table. There are some opportunities if you wanted to really lean in with us, maybe put your logo on some things and like come alongside us and help sponsor the event. There's some sponsorship opportunities there. You could sponsor a table or just grab a few tickets for you and a friend. But we would really love you guys to join us on September 24th. It's a Thursday evening. We're going to be at the Italian Club. I'm going to lean pretty heavily into some of the old Tampa stuff and like kind of the things that we're always like celebrating, but also like how maybe our past has some ideas for our future. And we're going to tell the story of, and the cast a vision for a well-built city, tell the story of our different works going on throughout the ecosystem. And we're really excited to get all you around the same table and invest together.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about, everyone.
All right, I think that'll do it for this week. We really appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for joining us. And yeah, guys, please do continue to engage with us. If you go to any events, if you have any news stories at WellBuilt Cities on Instagram, you can hit us up there. You could also hit them up at WellFed Community on Instagram as well. If you want to get directly to the podcast, tampatalk.xyz. If you want this straight into your inbox every Friday morning at 6 a.m., wordonthestreets.xyz. And that's what we got for you this week. So until next time.
Y'all be good.
Be good.